This is file number 22529FY, People versus Bradley James McKenzie. Mr. McKenzie, I'm Judge Middleton. I'm here with the public defender, Mr. Keith Stickley. Back in February of 2022, you were charged with possession of methamphetamine as a second or subsequent offense as a second offender, which is make it theoretically punishable by up to 40 years imprisonment. Matter was reduced to a misdemeanor charge of use of methamphetamine, and you were placed on probation. You also had an auto theft charge that was over at circuit court. I'm not sure what the status of that is.
That's done with. I got sentenced on that, and
all right. I gave you 91 days jail credit 1 and put you on a methamphetamine deferral, and it didn't go very well.
Well, sir,
your probation agent, Autumn Kiefer, filed a probation violation petition alleging that you failed to submit for testing and you failed to test on October 11th, October 13th, October 17th, 19th, 25th, 27th, November 3, November 8, November 11, and November 15 of 22. We set a arraignment on that probation violation for December 2nd, December 7th, and you failed to appear in December of 2022. And I issued a bench warrant for your arrest. So this probation didn't go very well. You also have a number of other charges. How did you get arrested last night?
No, on Friday or on Saturday.
All right, and where was that?
Berrien County. Sir, I just started school. I've been clean for almost a year. I did rehab. That's why I missed a lot of that. My probation and stuff. I stopped going because she told me she was going to violate me for going to rehab, and I was scared. But I've got almost a year clean. I started school on the 29th, my trade school. I just got my GED. I'm doing the best I've ever done. I did probation in Kalamazoo County years ago, and it kept me 8 years clean. If there's any way we can continue the probation, please, sir, please, please.
Well, I may not be your big problem. You've also got an operating while intoxicated from 2023, possession of fentanyl, possession of methamphetamine, which is 23614. I think you've been AWOL since that. Let's look at that.
I went to rehab the next day. I had OD'd and I went to rehab the next day, and I've been clean since.
Okay, good. That's very helpful.
Running
and hiding from your problems is not the solution.
Oh, I know it's not. I never ran before. I've never had a problem. I've never ran before. She told me she was going to violate me for going to rehab, I just started school. I just got my GED. I started trade school on the 29th. I'm doing the best I've ever done, really.
Well, I'm sorry.
If there's any way you can have mercy,
please. Would somebody get out of Bradley McKenzie? Mr. McKenzie, there are consequences in life, and you got some serious consequences. I gave you 91 days credit 1, cut you a huge break, and you didn't do what I asked you to do, and then you went AWOL for almost 2 years. In the meantime, you got charged with a drunk driving felony charge, unless I can't get in it. So
I don't know what that's about. I don't drink. I don't know what that's about.
Well, it's probably drugs. Let me find it. Somebody's in the file. I can't get into it. So let me look for it another way. The magistrate's going to see you in that case.
Sir, if we could continue.
What were you doing in Berrien County?
I was going with a friend to a casino. They had a free room for the night. I'm begging you, if we could please continue probation, please. I promise you I'll do this successfully.
Well, if I gave you a drug test right now, what would be in it?
Nothing, I'm clean. Marijuana, I got my medical card. I mean, I have, so I would be positive for marijuana.
All right, well, this one is not good. December 10th of 2022, after you kind of went AWOL on mine, you got a new methamphetamine charge, possession of fentanyl as second or subsequent offense. Another methamphetamine, and operating a vehicle on Broadway while under the influence of a controlled substance.
That's right before I went to rehab. I went kind of crazy there for a while, I know. I did probation successfully in Kalamazoo County. I was clean for 8 years. It kept me clean. I can do probation successfully. I promise you. I promise I can. I'm begging you, if you can please continue my probation. Let me.
I suspect if I tested you right now, I'd be positive for something. I'm thinking methamphetamine. In that case, you had 12 bottles of Coors Light, methamphetamine, fentanyl.
I don't even
You were
drink.
passed out behind the wheel of your car.
I don't drink.
Well, I'm not sure what your blood alcohol level was.
I don't. That was the day before I went into rehab. I went into rehab the next day.
Well, good.
I'm begging you, if we could please continue probation, please.
Will you stop?
Sorry.
You bugged out on my probation where I gave you 1 day and you 93 days. Now you tell me how wonderful you are and you haven't done anything and you're clean. All right, so you got that. You got this other bad drunk driving case where you got fentanyl, methamphetamine in your possession. You're a habitual offender and you're on abscond status. You get arrested in Berrien County, go into a casino to crash somewhere for the night. None of this sounds real encouraging. You're not employed. You got some vague idea about trade school. You owe me 90 days. I gave you 91 days credit one, which was a gift, which was a habitual felony case reduced to a misdemeanor. You paid me back by doing a very poor job on probation and absconding. So I'm not feeling real charitable right now. And I don't believe you that you're going to test negative for, I think you're either about to go through opioid withdrawal or you're dealing with meth. Are you going to go through withdrawal?
No.
All right, well, that's a plus. I'm going to set a PV hearing. Your original attorney was Timothy George. Set the hearing as soon as I can. The magistrate's going to see you a little later this afternoon on those charges. No bond going to do with this PV hearing. Where did you do your rehab?
Gilmore.
Are you in an aftercare program?
No, I've been out for, I've been out of rehab for quite a while.
Do you do NA or AA or anything?
I go to AA once a week. NAAA in Vicksburg.
Do you still have the Michigan Avenue address in Mendon?
Yes.
Are you working?
I'm not. I just started school. I'm starting school.
Have you worked?
Yeah, I was working at I worked at American Axle, and then I worked at hold on, what's Stryker, Stryker up in Kalamazoo.
Well, those are two great jobs. What happened to the Stryker job?
They said I failed my background test. That's probably because of this.
Well, they found there were 2 open warrants for your arrest. So you never actually worked there?
No, I did. I worked there for almost for over 6 months.
Well, that's too bad. All right. I'll set this up as soon as I can. Now, on the felony charges, they're going to arraign you and set a bond. They're going to appoint an attorney for you and set a pre-exam conference. You were in a very bad place to be a drunk driver, which is 131 and Broadway.
I don't know what that is. I have no idea. I was never drunk. I don't drink.
Well, you were passed out behind the wheel is the allegation.
That's before I went to rehab.
And there's some very serious charges, like 40-year maximum, possession of methamphetamine, possession of fentanyl, operating while intoxicated as a habitual third offender. Broadway and 131, yeah, not a very good spot. The allegation is that this was in December of 2022. You were already on abscond status for me at that point. They were taking somebody to jail and they came upon you and you were in a altered state. You were in a Toyota in the right turn lane of eastbound Broadway, slumped over the wheel. The exterior lights and interior dash lights were on with an alarm emitting from the interior of the vehicle. Brake lights were on. And I think it was in park. They had trouble waking you up.
That's the day before I
confused. Medical staff Tony Clark, he said that he had previously treated McKenzie for a drug overdose. Probable cause search warrant found 12 uncapped and empty bottles of Coors Light, a bag of marijuana, methamphetamine. Your blood alcohol was 0.0, so you weren't drunk, but the allegations you were on these other things, they did take your blood.
That's the day before I went to rehab. I went to rehab the very next day.
Okay, well, that's good. We'll take that into account. Anyway, the magistrate will see you later. I'm going to set this as soon as I can set it. You're not going to miss work. When is your start date for school?
29th.
What is it?
What is it? It's Pinnacle Trade School.
Where is that?
It's out of Kansas. I have to do a 6 months online, and then I do a 2-week training course in Kansas.
What trade?
To be a communications tower technician.
All right. Okay, I'll see you as soon as I can see you. The magistrate will see you this afternoon. All right.
Get the sounds upstairs.
We got Mr. Buckland here. We got Ms. Strong here. Casey, is this your duty week?
It is, Your Honor.
All right, well, nice to see you. I've yet to see Casey Johnson. I think he was here while I was gone.
Yeah, he was here last week.
All right. We might as well just keep plowing along here. What are we gonna do with Mr. Buckland's case?
So my client's present on the hallway, Judge.
Okay.
I was speaking with Prosecutor Barban this morning and we were discussing potential resolution and sobriety court being a possibility. That's something I think we want to talk a little bit further.
Well, I saw it, and he's on our radar. Just, why don't you come up to the, why don't you bring your client in, Keith, if you could shift seats for us.
Yeah, are we okay on arraignments now, or do you still?
I
have-
think so. I think Tim's gonna work out some deal on that guy.
I've got a sentencing upstairs that I gotta go grab stuff for. If you need me, I'm around though, so.
All right, it looks like I have one in custody guy. We're down to 89 people in the jail and nobody looks like they got arrested while I was gone,
I'll
so.
touch base with you as soon as.
You're
we're
right,
done
I'll
with
be
that.
back in 2 seconds.
All right,
Where would you like, Mr. Baker?
why don't you have a seat?
Right here.
Dave, we won't start without you. You can have a seat too.
Okay.
Good morning, sir.
Morning, Judge.
I didn't change the heading. It still says misdemeanor arraignments, but we'll just keep going. Mr. Buckland, have you had people put into our sobriety court?
I have reviewed the manual years ago, but I don't think I've ever had anybody formally enter the program.
Well, we've had a lot of successes and a few share of failures. But I'm always on the lookout for people I think might be appropriate to come into the program. We just are going through our recertification process. I know they don't have a sobriety court in Branch County.
Right.
It might be the only county left in the state that does not. We've had a number of Branch County people in our program. Coldwater, Bronson, have been quite successful. So even though he doesn't live here, if the conviction is here, he could be eligible for our program.
Okay.
I was gonna suggest giving him an opportunity to look before we bind it over or deal with the prelim. What if we set it out and they explored sobriety court?
All right, that's fine. Autumn, can you hear me? If you can, I'd like you to touch base with Mr. Buckland about what he needs to do to get his client into sobriety court. This is file 24162FD. As I advised, you're on our radar. We have sobriety court every other Tuesday. We have it today. And we have a staffing session from 1 to 2:30 and go over cases. And so we can discuss this to explore.
Are the participants here every other week or weekly?
Every other week. They have other obligations, as you know. They have to test at the day reporting center. They have Spencer's treatment group on Tuesday nights. But they meet with me every other Tuesday, and we're doing much of that virtually.
Okay.
As long as the defendants are in compliance, they can appear by Zoom. And it's not ideal, but it works. He can do his treatment in Branch County if he's got something. There's a testing component, which is in Three Rivers, unless you've got a testing resource in Branch County. It's urine testing. It starts out and then it gets reduced. Your license is going to be revoked if you get this conviction. However, you may be eligible for a sobriety court interlock license. And that would allow you to have a driver's license with an interlock device to drive to and from work, treatment, employment, and other purposes. It's really your only window to get driving privileges, literally, for at least 5 years. So that's one of the carrots of people coming into sobriety court, as well as not giving them a lengthy jail sentence. But mostly it's about trying to get people in a better place in their life for their family, their coworkers, their children. Here, did you used to live in Sturgis?
Yes.
That's what I thought. All right, how about if we continue this for 2 weeks? Today is April 23rd. If we continue this to pre-exam May 7th. Does that work for you, Mr. Buckland?
On my calendar if you're okay.
Priscilla, I don't know if you heard me, or Autumn. I could use Autumn's help on this case. The pre-exam would be May 7th at 8:30, and if we needed a prelim, it would be May 14th at 1.
Apparently I don't have great reception here because it's still loading.
No, this courtroom is bad. It's like a bomb shelter.
As of right now, put down May 7th at 8:30, and if
Alright.
for some reason.
Now, this could go several different ways. It could stay as a felony and get bound over to circuit court and a plea in circuit court. We also take referrals from sobriety court from circuit court. Judge Stutzman transfers them to us and we kind of jointly supervise it. We've had a number of very successful people with felonies who completed our sobriety court program. It also could be reduced to a misdemeanor, driving suspended second offense, which would be a 1-year maximum. And that'll be a decision for Mr. Marvin and you to come to. I met Mr. Baker back 10 years ago or so. We'll see how he's been doing in the meantime. I want to explore sobriety court. All right, now you do have a right to have this hearing within 14 days of your arraignment. You can also agree to adjourn it beyond that 14 days. Do you agree to adjourn the time for this?
Yes.
All right. Are you on pretrial services? Are you testing now?
I don't believe he
I
is.
think it started as a misdemeanor and then turned into a felony. Where are you working?
Miller's Country.
All right. Do you have a valid license now?
I got the paper.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. This is Autumn Kiefer. She is the probation agent in charge of our sobriety court program, does an excellent job. You can meet with her, Mr. Buckland, and she'll tell you what you need to do to get your client in a position to get, he needs to get an evaluation. He needs to do some other things to come into the program. This defendant lives in Bronson. It's Justin Baker. We have discussed him. And we can discuss him further at staffing this afternoon. But if you would just kind of enlighten Attorney Buckland on what he needs to do, then he'll have a sense of what we need. All right, you guys can meet out in the conference room or. Thank you all. Ms. Campbell, can you hear me?
I can now. Yes, sorry.
Very good. Please don't smoke during the proceeding. We're about to start a real process, but good morning. Lance, can you hear me also?
I can.
All right, very good. Let's get started. We set this a little early. We had missed some landlord tenant dates and we set this at 8:45. I appreciate everybody being here in a timely manner. This is a second hearing. We were previously here on April 8th. And so because I was gone, we had to move it from the 8th all the way to the 26th. At the time we were here, the arrearage was $3,035. It looks like the defendant, no, we have the exact same numbers.
No, nope, they
no,
have
we don't.
changed, Your Honor.
They have changed. So through April. Well, at this point, Mr. Thornton has provided what I value, his judgment information form, which contends that rent and late fees through April are $2,535. Plus, so your number doesn't add up. Plus 183.67. That 321894 is the number we had last time, but she's apparently paid some. So let's add those two numbers on it. 2535.27 plus 183.67. That equals 2,718.94. That's why I was a little mixed up.
I agree.
Defendant has paid $500 rent since moving in. Defendant did pay the $800 security deposit. So, Ms. Campbell, you had indicated you were gonna get a tax refund and you had asked for some emergency help. What's your status?
I've made a deal with the landlord. I'm paying $500 every week until it's paid off. They have agreed to take my payments as $500 every week in return to not write a writ to have me removed. So far, I have paid $900, not $500. $900 has been posted to my rent. I did receive my state refund. Federal should be coming any day, so I should not have to pay $500 every week for long.
Mr. Thorne, do you have any knowledge of that?
I do not, Your Honor. I received from Judy Shepard, the manager, yesterday an updated tenant ledger showing the $500 payment made by Ms. Campbell. But I am not aware of an additional $400 payment, nor have I been notified that any agreement's been reached.
Well, as I told you last time, Ms. Campbell, they don't have to evict you on the 10th day. The date for the writ from today will be May 6th.
I'm confused. I have it in writing. I have it in writing from
Okay.
Judy Shepard
All right.
saying
That I was going to tell you to get it in writing.
I do have it in writing, sir.
Okay. Then that is subject to the agreement with the landlord, and you shall receive credit for all payments made.
Yes, the $400 was posted yesterday morning.
Yeah, all right, let me go back. I hadn't turned the record on. We're dealing with file 24327LT, Walnut Meadows Apartments LLC versus Robin Campbell. Lance Thornton is here on behalf of the complex, and Robin Campbell is here by Zoom. Also joining us is attorney Meg Bauer from legal aid in Kalamazoo. The numbers reflect some payment was made. The rent arrearage is 253527. And the court costs are 18367. The total due through April is 20071894. Of course, on May 1st, another month's rent is going to be due. The date for the, just a minute.
Okay.
The date for the writ would be May 6th. Now, this document is called a judgment. It says how much is due. You could be liable for money damages if you move and additional rent is owed. Acceptance of a partial payment will not prevent the writ of eviction, and no money judgment is entered at this time. Mr. Thornton, as their lawyer, is always a little bit of a disadvantage when they make an agreement without telling their lawyer about it. But you got it in writing, which is what I would recommend you to do. So you know how much is due and you plan to pay it. You shall receive credit for all payments made. And so if other payments were made that haven't reflected here. So what this means is if they come in and ask for a writ within 10 days, I won't do a writ of eviction unless I have a hearing first, in which case you can present your written agreement with the landlord. But it sounds like if you get your tax refunds, this whole thing may be paid off and it may go away, and after May, things will go fine. But let me repeat this. I've done this judgment in the numbers we discussed. You shall receive credit for all payments made, and I won't do any writ of eviction unless we have a hearing first. So they have 56 days from today to ask for the writ of eviction, and actually 56 more days before they serve it. But this should be resolved within those 56 days. But if at some point they're asking for a writ, we'll have a hearing to see what the terms of your agreement are. Is that acceptable to you, Mr. Thornton?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, I'll say C judgment. All right, it was okay to get a little bit of a head start on our morning to get this case resolved. All right, Ms. Campbell, good luck to you.
I'm no help, Judge. I must confess I'm a little deficient in my Russian prison knowledge.
Read some Martin Cruz Smith books or Stuart Kaminsky or several others.
I might get some flack for this, but I haven't read a lot of it since I was in high school, but found Russian literature to be a little depressive and fatalistic.
Oh, they're not Russian literature. It's just police procedurals set in Moscow. Martin Cruz Smith is a very good writer. He wrote Gorky Park and a number of others, and Stuart Kaminsky wrote a number of good books, 6 of which were set in Siesta Key, but he wrote a series of books that were set in Moscow, which were very good. He's passed away, so I never figured out how the stories ended up. Mr. Matheny is here early. I'm not sure how we went down that rabbit hole, but Mr. Lebonsky, are you with us?
Just in time for a lecture on my people. I appreciate it.
I don't know if you read. Oh, I like your logo there. I've never seen that before. Carrier, those people, they don't ever bring that in. That's pretty impressive looking. I've already advised the defendant of her rights as a tenant. Meg Bauer is here with us from Legal Aid, and Ms. Cousineau, your manager, is here also. So let me take a minute. All right, this is a claim for non-payment of rent. This is a property at Laura Court. The rent is $430 per month, and the alleged arrearage is $25.77, but that didn't include March or April. So, Mr. Lubianski, what's the current arrearage?
And is this on the Felicia Hotel case, Your Honor?
Yes, it is. I'm sorry.
Very good. Currently in rent, $3,040. I'm showing costs of $185 for a total of $3,225.
That is through April?
Yes, Your Honor.
Miss Hotel, what's your position?
I took care of this month's rent. I've been looking for assistance. I went through DHS, but they basically told me that if I got rental assistance, they were going to take away my food stamps. And
that's
then,
a new one.
Yeah, that's what I just went through with them. And then I just went to community action on Monday for the second time since February, and they're going to help me out with $1,000. And then
how about Neighborhood Inc?
I've talked to them too, and I also, my church Radiant Life is supposed to get back with me. I left the pastor Josh a message a couple times this week, but we haven't made contact since my appointment with community action.
All right, well, you're really on top of it. I talk to people that say, well, I'm going to talk to somebody. You talk to everybody.
I've talked to
DHS,
everybody.
Community
Yes.
Action, Neighborhood Inc., and your church.
And there's been some other people too that weren't able to help, that I have a whole list.
All right,
and
now,
then I've also been keeping track with Lori on everything, and we just wanted to try to get everything paid up and resolved.
all right. Well, good for you. Now, normally we would adjourn this 7 days, or excuse me, at least 10 days. I'm thinking maybe we'll go a little bit farther because you've requested aid and it takes a while for that to take place. So normally this would be set for next Friday, the 3rd of May. I'm gonna bump it to May 6th. Does that work for you, Mr. Lubianski?
Yes, Your Honor.
May 6th at 1:40. Of course, by then, May's rent will also be due.
Yes, we've already added that into everything.
All right, you've been the most on top of it and anybody I've talked to in weeks.
I've lived here for 12 years. I really don't want to lose my home. I'm a single mom of 3 kids, and it's just been a really bad year.
Now, the question is going forward, once you get past May, will you be able to continue to pay $430 a month's rent?
We just had the rent bumped down to $400 a month when we did everything. I think it was about a month ago. And I also discussed this with my church, and they also said the same thing. They want to make sure that I'm set up for success, where I'm not just falling right back down into a rabbit hole. So as soon as I get everything caught up, I'm going to make sure that I can keep it caught up. But it's just been what it was my washer, dryer, my vacuum cleaner, and my car all took a crap at the same time. So it's like I've just had one obstacle after the other.
All right, that sounds like a country music lyric.
Exactly.
My car, my vacuum cleaner, my washing machine, and my dog all died. That's a very sad story. All right, but you're very proactive and you seem to be on top of it. We'll bump this a little longer than 10 days. We'll bump it out 14, or actually, yeah, I guess 13 days. But we'll see how you're doing at that point. And then what I would say was we'll figure out what the arrearage is. I would give you 10 additional days to pay the arrearage. So it would give you at minimum till May 16th to get this all in order. So
Okay.
I will see you Monday, May 6th at 1:40. And Mr. Lubianski, you drew the short straw today. I think this is the only Cox case we got for this morning. So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Judge Miller.
All right, thank you. And Ms. Cousineau, we'll see you next time also.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you. Mr. Heisman, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
And I've got Felicia Otel. Miss Otel, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Very good. I'm going to take a minute. It's a little early. Your case is set at 9 and Mr. Heisman's is a little later, 9:20. But as long as you're here, I'm going to advise you both of your rights as a tenant in a landlord-tenant proceeding. I've been on vacation. Let me see if I remember how to do this. Also on screen with us is Attorney Meg Bauer from Legal Aid of Kalamazoo, and she'll be available for consultation if needed. As a defendant in a landlord-tenant proceeding, including non-payment of rent, which is what yours is, Ms. Otel, and Mr. Heisma, yours is termination of tenancy. They want you to move. But in either type of case, you have the following legal rights. You have the right to obtain counsel for representation in this matter. If you cannot afford an attorney, the county could refer you to legal aid. We don't have court-appointed attorneys in landlord-tenant cases, but you can request information from legal aid, and we did send you that information. You have a right to have the case heard here in St. Joseph County where the property is. The Supreme Court tells us we have to tell people that, and I don't know why, because I've never had a case where it wasn't heard in St. Joe County. But anyway, it'll be heard here. You have a right to a jury trial. You can demand one, and you have to do it today at your first appearance, or make the demand in writing within 5 days and file the written jury demand with a $50 fee. If you can't afford the fee, you can ask for a waiver to see if the judge could waive the fee. If the plaintiff is agreeable, the matter can be referred for mediation to the Citizens Mediation Authority for an attempt at resolution in this matter. Your landlord has asked you to be evicted in Miss Otel's case for not paying your rent. You may be able to get assistance from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, a coordinated entry agency, a housing assessment and resource agency in our county that is Neighborhood Inc. Or if you're a veteran, you may be eligible for veterans programs. And we also sent you that information. Despite the fact what DHS keeps telling people, you do not need a judgment to receive the assistance from those places. A copy of the summons and complaint are sufficient, and you've already received that. If you do reach an agreement with the landlord outside of court, you may be eligible for what's called a conditional dismissal. And there's a form for an order for conditional dismissal. And the court must either provide you with the form or tell you where to find it. Lori from Village Manor is here. And Judy, which company are you with?
I'm with Walnut Meadows. I may have already missed it. Had a resident on the phone. I was late.
Yeah, we did. We took care of that with Lance. She says that she signed an agreement to pay $500 a week till she gets caught up. She's got
We
her
didn't sign
stated-
an agreement. I just told her she could keep paying. I still want to proceed with the writ. So if she stops paying, then we
Yeah,
can
we did.
proceed.
We did that.
Okay, perfect.
So-
We're good then.
All right. Check with
Perfect.
Lance if you need anything more.
All right. I'm sorry, Judge Middleton.
All right, you're good to go. Let me bring him back. Oh, here he is. Good morning, Mr. Gillespie. Have a seat. Do they have a chair for you?
Not really.
All right, well, pull one up.
Your Honor, I would like to talk with Paul since he's had an opportunity to meet with his client, but I don't want to negotiate on Zoom.
I certainly don't disagree.
So if I could
Well-
call a cell phone, I
Well,
could.
the
do that.
Zoom room is,
Sure, if you want to call me, if I could pause, I could talk with Mr. Marvin on the phone for a second if the
All
court
right.
would allow us the short of.
all right. Mr. Gillespie, I'm gonna put you in the waiting room. Don't go away. And I've got a couple pleas from Casey Strong, Disabriel Carr, retail fraud second, and Nathan Weller, improper use of a firearm.
That's
So
right.
I'll go ahead and do those while you're talking with Mr. Gibson.